Daniel, what does the opera Daniel Hagen's fantasy Impromptu, an opera titled The Messiah, contain? The opera is the videos themselves. The opera is the description that is being given in those videos. The opera is the corresponding serial that is included on the Facebook page as well as what the serial describes. In reality, nobody is actually doing any of the things that are described on the opera. If they were actually doing any of the things that are described on the opera, that would be considered to be a separate and distinct opera. Although I think that you would still describe their opera using the same title, because in the event that crazy people think that it's real, they will believe they're on my opera, but that's not my opera, it's their opera. In their opera they think they are on my opera. I suppose that it would be like fan art at best and at worst intellectual property theft or something. In the introduction video I described operas and opera verses as Venn diagrams, in that they can be independent or dependent on each other and may have some degree of overlap or are contained in the other one. It just would be like a copycat opera. I'm creating a different opera just named the same and they think they are on it. In the future I may have guests and then they would actually be on the opera in the same way that guests are on a talk show. My specific example being the video titled "He Told Me I Could Post It," which sets the example I have for future guests, in that I will probably make it as uncomplicated as that video was, in the sense that he just had to be himself and respond in a natural and normal way, and that would be the content that was produced. I described an operaverse, which is like a universe like similar to but different from the Star Wars universe or Star Trek universe. Because universe combines uni with verse, I instead combine opera with verse to form operaverse. The purpose of the operaverse is to produce operas like the completed story opera, which is the background for when I sing in person. The operaverse describes a 37-year-old die-hard composer who is schizophrenic, who creates operas, practices scales, or whatever it is that I do on the nonce. Within that operaverse are the completed operas as well as the ongoing opera, which is like the full operaverse segmented into operas. The word operation works in many of the definitions simultaneously, if not all of them. The most unusual being a procedure performed on a living body, usually with instruments, especially for the repair of damage or defect or the restoration of health. In this sense I am using sound to rub their ears, so it is barely but probably technically a form of procedure performed on a living body, the portion of the living body being their ears. The restoration of health being their emotional health. This is particularly true for my nocturnes and during times when I'm not being threatened. My music can get quite aggressive, but even in that situation it's still curing the crime that's occurring at the time, because it's used to get them to report crimes like the slow jam metal bass drum and lead in red and blue group.